Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Collective Clicks podcast. Today, I am joined by David Richter from Simple CFO. David has been on the podcast, I think, once before, although
At least.
it was at least a year ago. It's been a minute. So if you haven't heard from David yet, here he is. David, for everybody who might not know you, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah. So I am a recovering real estate investor, and I'm also a I own Simple CFO, which is a company that helps a lot of real estate investors and people that are entrepreneurs keep more of the money they're making. Lots of people are good at making it. We just come alongside to help them keep it from a fractional CFO perspective. So we do the bookkeeping, we do accounting, all of that stuff, but our core focus is to not have people end up where we were in the real estate world, where 10 years ago I was part of a company where we're doing about 25 deals a month, but spending about 26 worth of deals out the door a month. So our mission is really to help people, if you're going to do any type of revenue, to make sure you have a system to keep more of the money.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, they say making money is a skill, keeping money is a discipline, right? Do you count like profitability in the keeping money world? Uh,
Yes, as long as profitability really means there's money in your bank account and not just some fictitious number that someone gives you, like your CPA or accountant and says, "Oh yeah, you had this profit," and then you look at your bank account and you have like $10, and you're like, "What? Where did all that profit go?" So as long as you're equating profit to actual profit you get to keep and you get to use for that financial freedom that everyone wants as an
yeah,
entrepreneur.
I know that in my business, I've been through phases where this feels like not that important,
Mm,
and
yep.
definitely phases where it feels really acutely important, and you feel the pain from not being great at this. And probably it's one of those things. It's like a hygiene habit. Like you just got to be on top of it all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would notice it more, sometimes you would notice it less. And also the problem kind of evolves over time
Yeah, it
too.
does.
So I'm super curious when you think about this. Do
So
you think there's like a stage that an investor gets to where this becomes essential, or do you think it's every stage that this is essential?
Well, I mean, as the finance guy now, it's like I do
Yeah.
believe the finances are important from deal one. Like, I want you to know and have at least a system you can fall back on from deal one. Honestly, Brandon, that's what even pushed me towards the profit first methodology. Because I didn't say that in my intro, but I wrote the book Profit First for Real Estate Investing. But it was born out of this is not the end goal of everyone, is just profit first. This is almost like a great first step. So if you're on your first deal, like, I'd love you to have good habits with your money from deal one, because you're so right, Brandon. It evolves. It does evolve. And I don't think that Profit First can solve all the issues all the time on the finances for everyone. But I think it's, if you don't have it and you don't have a system for your cash, it's a great place to start. So it's like, start there. But then as you grow, you still need a system for cash, but then you need to look deeper into the numbers. Like, okay, as you start hiring people, as you start spending more on marketing, as you start to know, like, okay, can I actually, I've been in business now too, like you said, experience. Now you've got some experience, maybe a few years into it, where now you can look back over the numbers to say, like, okay, what worked, what didn't. Where if you're just a new business, you don't have anything to go off of, just like what worked in that moment. So it's like, I want you to have good systems and good habits with your money from even deal one, but then it does evolve from there. And it's like learning those different phases and the different things during those steps. And it's like, when do you hire a bookkeeper? When do you, tracking all the stuff so it doesn't become a headache? But then also not just that, but then how do you actually get the data out of it to look at, like, predicting the future and all that stuff, and like, how do I make sure I avoid this? Because Brandon, what you were saying is so right. People feel the pain acutely, usually when they are missing one of those simple foundational pieces and something breaks, whether it's in their business or it's in the marketplace or someone leaves in, it's like all the different things that can happen to us, even outside of our control. If we have some good controls in place, usually we still feel pain, but it's not as much as if we have nothing around the finances, nothing guarding it. We don't know our numbers. We're just kind of like, as long as there's more money in the bank account, I'm going to be okay. Well, that's okay until it's not. And then you feel it very acutely. So I just tell people, where are you now? What's that next step? And that's where we're just trying to always help people with, okay, where are you now? What's the next step you need to take on your journey?
Yeah, that makes sense. And is actually really interesting. So help me understand for somebody
Yeah.
who's unfamiliar with profit first. I'd love an overview of
Yeah.
the profit first principle, what that is, and also do you outgrow that? Because you kind of talked about how like at the beginning,
Yeah.
like this is like a good first step for financials. And is the 10th step for financials for some of the people with larger business operations that are listening to this, is that still like some modified version of profit first? Or do you think you can actually outgrow that kind of system?
I definitely think you can outgrow it eventually because it's like if you're doing $100 million or something, it's like you probably got lots more controls in place. Or hopefully, now that I've worked with people, above 5 million, I'm still like, okay, what's going on here? So I would say if you're especially working on your first million, it's 100% for you. If you're honestly between 1 to 10 million, that's still a great gap in the marketplace where Profit First can help you with your cash. Because once you get that first seven figures, it's really hard to know, like, okay, is this mine? Is this someone else's? How much needs to be for profit, for taxes, like all this stuff. Where if I had to boil down Profit First before I go into any further of like when you can outgrow it, Profit First is two things. Number one, it's the pay yourself mindset, like making sure in a for profit business, you put the profit first. And how do you do that? Profit First takes it a step further than a lot of other books like Rich Dad Poor Dad or all those the ones that say pay yourself first. Profit First says has a system with it. So it's like I want you to set up physical business checking accounts and name them certain things like the envelope method. If you've heard that on the personal finance side where you literally put all your money into different envelopes and you're naming the envelopes like rent, utility, gas, mortgage, whatever it might be. In your business, you're going to have some bank accounts specifically for what you need, whether that be profit or paying yourself and a pay yourself first account, like you, the owner, getting some owner's pay, tax account, even marketing, like knowing how much do I need to spend in order to get a dollar back. It's like some of our clients like to specifically open up an account just to know how much am I spending on marketing because that's such a big area of their spend, but that's also getting them the most return, obviously, as well, too. So it's just being very intentional with the dollars. So I don't think anyone really outgrows that. I think it takes on different forms, like you said. The bigger they get, you might need to, as you get bigger, customize it. Like, okay, do you have different departments? So does a department need its own bank account where they know this is the budget we have for the month and we can spend this much in this department? Or if you're a real estate investor, because we work with lots of real estate investors, you might have different businesses at different stages. You might have a wholesale fix and flip company that's a million or above, and you need all the bank accounts and you need that clarity, but maybe you're just building your rental portfolio. So you only need like, two or three accounts to make sure you know exactly what's coming in, what's going out, and like, what do you get to put in your pocket? So it's like, it also depends on the business, the stage of the business, and how complex the business is at that point. But I will say one thing, Brandon, the system does not work if you overcomplicate it or if you try to measure up to something in the system. What will you do? This is a great test is, can I do this repeatedly and consistently? Like, can I consistently move my money and can I consistently know and repeatedly know, okay, this is how much I have in these different accounts. This is how much I'm moving, whether it's weekly you're moving your money or if it's monthly. It's like, what will you do consistently? And don't overcomplicate it. Like, do you need more bank accounts, less bank accounts? Because people ask me all the time, like, okay, what are all the bank accounts? And does it matter if I open another one for this? And I tell people, okay, are you realistically, money comes in to like maybe an income account where you get all the money in. How realistic is it for you, whether on a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly basis, to split it out to X number of accounts? Like, I want to know. And obviously there's even now today, there's banks out there that help with the profit first methodology. So you can literally have multiple banks and then, split out the money once it comes in different percentages. So it makes it easier to have the automation and the discipline, and you can automate your profit more. But I would just tell people, whatever stage of business you're in, especially if you're sub 10 million. So if you're anywhere from $0 and working on your first deal up to like the 10 million mark, there's not one person who's come through our door and I'm like, oh no, you've outgrown profit first. It's more like, no, you still need to have that clarity, because so many people, Brandon, you probably see this working with people above a million. If they get above a million and they don't know where their cash is, the issues are a lot worse. It's like their hair's on fire, usually either a lot more or it's a lot scarier for them, because a lot of them just don't know, what is this cash? Where can I spend it? If I do spend this, what's my return? Like, if they don't have that clarity and they don't have their numbers in order.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Not to mention, like you and I lived through this ourselves, and we're talking about this here, but I can tell you, at least from my perspective, I'm not like the guy who has all his business financials perfect, and maybe
Right.
you are. I mean, as a CFO company,
As
you
a
guys
CFO
probably got
company.
to be dialed in.
They're pretty
But
good. So yeah, I got my own little CFO as well. So it's like I need that still. I need help, like as the owner.
sure.
But yeah, it's like we got to be dialed in, especially for teaching this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me tell you the thing that resonates with me the most about what you're talking about. It's
Yeah,
kind of like it's the idea of we just had Pat Precourt on the podcast. I don't know in what order episodes will get released, but if you listen to this, you probably could have listened to that. He talked about how like when you raise your floor in your business, you raise your ceiling too.
yeah,
And it kind of comes back to like the James Clear Atomic Habits kind of idea of like you don't rise to your level of training, you fall to the level of your habits.
exactly.
So what I like about what you're talking about here is like this is just standard like day to day financial discipline in the business that you make sure is possible on every single day, no matter what. And if you have that kind of base foundation, you're good. And it comes back to like something I believe, which is financial discipline in both good times and bad times is the key to longevity in the business. That's like a direct line from like our vision
Yeah,
as a company, because so often we only think about financial discipline when things are bad. But what you're talking about here is a system to think about financial discipline all the time. And because
right,
it's my personal belief that like on the upswing, that's when the most money is actually wasted in business, but you just don't feel it as
right,
much because you have good things to cover up the waste. But who cares if there's good things to cover up the waste? Waste is waste.
right.
Whether things are good or things are bad, you want to get rid of waste.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's so good because so many people, I just would challenge you if you're listening to this podcast, are your current habits getting you closer to financial freedom or are you staying stuck in the rat race? It's like, are you just living deal to deal? Are you just going around? If you've ever played that Cash Flow 101 game by Robert Kiyosaki, it's like, are you just stuck in that little wheel
Mhm.
trying to land on, the big or small green spaces for the big deals, small deals? And it's like, your habits, the things you do consistently. And that's why, Brandon, I was so drawn to Profit First because it did. It took a lot of those books that I had read before just a step further. Just said, okay, yeah, you want to pay yourself first. Well, here's the how. Here's the system where every week or every bi-weekly or every month when money comes in, this is how we're spreading out the money. This is where in good times, great, we have overflow, but now we can put more towards reserves, or we can go out there and invest maybe in another person that we needed to hire at this point. But it's like now you're being intentional with it versus like, I've got all this money in this one account. Oh, that's the sun is shining, the grass is green. Like, let's go out there and just blow all this money. It's like, well, no, let's take a step back, fall back on our systems and say, what is the system telling us to do? And what can we do in the parameters of this system that's guiding us to make sure when the sun's shining, we still can get to where we want to go and to help us in the lean times as well. And there's a great book by Jim Collins. He wrote, obviously, the Good to Great, but he wrote another one called Great by Choice. And in there, he tells about two teams that were trying, I think it was the South Pole. They were trying to reach the South Pole, and two teams tried to get there to break the record of like, getting to the South Pole. And one team, when the sun was shining, they'd go like 60, 80, 100 miles in a day. The other team, or that same team, when it was like snowing or there was a huge blizzard or something, the closer they got to the South Pole, they would stop. They would not do anything on like the horrible days. There was that other team, though, no matter what, rain, shine, snow, blizzards, would do 20 miles a day no matter what. Like they would do 20 miles in the sunshine, but they would also do 20 miles if there was a blizzard out there. And they just consistently got there. The one team that was going faster, during the sunshine, but wasn't wasn't doing anything on the other days. I don't even think they made it. Or if they did, it was like
I thought
a
they
month or
died.
two. I think a lot. Yeah, I was going to say, if I remember right, I think they
I
even
can't
died.
remember.
Like they couldn't even get there, and then they passed away because they weren't as prepared, and they used so many resources, like when they were just sitting there, that they didn't have enough to actually make the trip there. And the other team, not only did they make it, but they made it back as well too, so that they got there way in advance of the other team, and then they made the return journey home to actually tell the story. And it's like, this is what we want in business. This is why why too, Brent. You've probably heard this statement, like the roller coaster. Like everyone in the real estate or as entrepreneurs feels like they're on that up and down roller coaster of like, yeah, we've got cash, and then the next day, no, where did it all go? And like we feel great one day and not great the next. If we can just practice that 20-mile march, especially with our money, when the sun's shining, we're still allocating it to where it should go. Now we have parameters and some discipline built into our business. So when the sun isn't shining and there's a blizzard, it's like, okay, maybe we don't have as much to go around, but at least we've stored up where we need it when we need it. And now we don't have to be panicking, but you're still moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. I think the cool thing about the methodology you're talking about is just it just kind of flips like the typical script on its head,
Yeah.
right? Because normally we think like the decisions that we make in the business create the outcome, which is profit.
Right.
And the way you're thinking about it is profit is the design parameter of the business within which the decisions are made.
Exactly. Like, and this is for-profit businesses we're talking about. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little bit where I'm just like chuckling because it's like we start a business, and if you start a for-profit business, sometimes there's a lot of emotional or mental garbage around the for-profit business or like getting it off the ground, or it could be stinking thinking on both sides. Like I just have to keep filling the bucket as much as possible. Or on the flip side, you feel bad about making money. I don't know. It's like we see different people on the ends of the spectrum. So, but Brandon, we're starting for-profit businesses, and the business is really the lifeblood, and that profit is like, and the cash is the blood of the business. So we need that cash, and we need systems to protect it. So yes, profit should be the parameters that we're building our business around. A lot of people build their business on the hope and pray plan. I hope I make enough, and that I pray there's some left over sometime. Versus, I know what I want and I'm aggressively going after that. And that's where it's like, hey, that's why I teach a lot when I teach profit first. You should find your need and want number. What do I need to either get out of my W-2, or if I'm out of my W-2, to pay myself consistently from the business where I can at least maintain my current lifestyle? So what's my need number? But then what's my want number? So if I hit that need number, I've still got a goal that I can go after, which is more like my financial freedom number. Like, and for different people, it's different levels, and it's like it just is very personal to you. But a lot of people never give themselves a good personal goal of like, why did I start this business, and why don't I point my money towards why I started this, and like to be able to feel that financial freedom.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Let me tell you one thing that makes me pause a little bit, right? I
Yeah.
want to challenge this system because I want to see
Boom.
what happens
Let's do it.
when we do it. And I'm really curious
That's why
to
you're
hear
a
what
great
your
host.
answer is to this question. Yeah, I'm going to challenge you, David. Sometimes I worry that the people who come on this podcast think I'm just like trying to like tear them down, but it's more just like, no, show me how I'm wrong in this
Yeah.
circumstance.
No, I
But
love that. That's great.
So here's the tricky thing that can happen in
Yeah.
the financials of the business sometimes. It's not that we have like consistent number of deals that we're doing. The number of deals can crash in a certain period of time for whatever reason.
Yes, they can.
Make bad marketing decisions. We got bad on sales. I mean, in this business, to have a pretty big lull in revenue probably would happen even if everything was perfectly dialed in.
Yep.
Because that's just how it works, right?
Is
When you're
in real estate.
like the law of randomness is going to make it so that your revenue is a little bit of a roller coaster, which I think is part of what makes the real estate investing business particularly difficult.
Oh yeah.
So with that, right? We take this idea of, well, when the money comes in, we're going to take the profit first, and then we're going to have what's left over to allocate to what's left over. Couldn't that make it so that we actually have a downturn in the business really disproportionately affect our future negatively? Because, well, we had less revenue come in than we expected. We still take the profit off the top. Because we took the profit off the top, now we have to slash our marketing budget. Now we have to let go of some people on sales and all that kind of stuff. And because of that, now we actually ruined a lot of our future months as well. Instead of like, well, the revenue would have just bounced back next month as long as we didn't contract a lot of those other expenses and that kind of stuff. So how do you deal with the idea of like, because I think what naturally happens is like, if revenue is going up, well, now profit first says, well, now you have more money to invest in stuff. And then that's going to create this positive virtuous cycle of like, oh, and then things get better and then we invest more, and then things get better, then we invest more. But how do you make it not turn into a negative cycle where things get worse and then we invest less, and because we invested less, now things get even worse and we're headed to the ground?
Well, I have to be thinking on the flip side. Okay, Brandon, let me flip this around and ask you, like, if I didn't have those systems in place, do you think I would be in a better or worse position if I didn't have parameters of profit? Like, if I didn't think that
Mm.
I put profit first, okay, let's just say, now it also depends too when someone implements profit first. Are they on the upswing or the downswing, or is it a normal cycle right then? Because if it's on the downswing, they might be doing triage where lots of they won't have as much percentages going towards profit or paying themselves, and it's still going towards the marketing or the expenses or things like that, which in order to keep the business afloat. The difference is I'm not trying to get them to have certain percentages. Trying to get them to have great habits with their money. So it's like if they come to us on a down cycle, I still want them to have, even if it's 1% to profit and 1% to owner's pay, like, can we do something? Because I need to get you into a better habit, because I don't want you to be in this same position the next downturn that you have. Because, okay, let's say that same company builds some good habits. Then they have, let's say this is pre-COVID. They go into COVID and the sun is shining. Oh my gosh, everything's flying off the shelves. And they start putting more percentage into profit. Maybe they take it from 1% to like 15%, and their owners pay from like 1% to like 20%. So now 35% is going towards keeping it, and then 65% to the business, and they're able to build it and grow it. Now a downturn comes, and they're like, well, now we've got a little bit of reserves. We've got more cash. Now it's a question of, do we want to change our percentages to invest more in the business where we need to right now, or do we want to constrict a little bit and say, no, we want to keep these percentages, and we're just going to have to adjust because we don't want to cut corners and we don't want to take our profit. It becomes a better question. So it's not like there's an answer there, Brandon. It's more like it gives you the opportunity to pause when everyone else is like running around like a chicken with their head cut off of like, what do I do? And I just need to throw all the money back into the expenses, and like, I just need to get a deal out there. Now they can say, well, we're at 35% between owner's pay and profit. Let's take it down to 10%, and we can invest the extra 25% into the business right now because we really need to get some deals flowing or whatever, but we still need to be bringing some in. And since we've built a buffer in the good times, like we have a few months where we could take a lesser percentage to try and get back on track. Like, that's a much better scenario than, oh my gosh, my hair's on fire. What do? I just need to put all the money back to the business. I even need to fund it with my own personal finances that I've taken out of the business, like, and reinvest it back into the business. Well, it's like, well, we probably didn't have good habits. That's why we got into the situation, and now we didn't have a system to help protect us. So that's a long-winded answer, but those are just like, I wanted to give a specific scenario of like, maybe it was pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID, and like how percentages could change and what type of scenario like that could happen.
I love that, David. One thing I heard at some point, I don't know if I read this in a book or someone told me this, or who knows where the heck this came from. They basically said, like, every 10 years you have in business, you're probably going to have like 6 normal years, 2 absolutely incredible years, and probably 2 years that are just going to be potentially so bad they almost put you out of business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And looking at it from that whole standpoint of like, well, what if we use this financial discipline during the whole 10 years? Like, if you don't bring the financial discipline and then suddenly you try to bring it in the 2 years that you're almost getting put into business, it can be too little too late.
Yeah.
Versus what you're talking about. I love how you compare it to like personal finances, because if we look at the way many businesses are run from a personal finance level, it just looks dumb because everybody knows not to do that with their personal finances, yet they do with their business finances, right? Exactly. You talk about like living paycheck to paycheck is like living deal to deal. It's like the business version of living paycheck to paycheck. And it's crazy. I think like the great sickness of business is short-term, financially pressured decisions that are actually long-term bad for the business, but you're forced to take because you don't have the optionality, because you did not have the discipline in good times to build the buffers that you need in order to still, when it's tough, be looking at that 5-year perspective and say, is this move that I'm going to make this month going to be better or worse for the business in 5 years? Because you don't have the luxury of being able to do that. It's like when you live paycheck to paycheck and you lose your job. Like, you don't get to choose the best job for you next. You just have to take like whatever you can get. And that doesn't mean it's going to be like the next career move for you. It just means it's going to be whatever's going to pay the bills right now, because you haven't built the luxury of being able to think long term.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what we want to give people. I am a I love Jesus. I love the Bible, and it's like in there is Joseph, right? Where he went through horrible times, and then he eventually became the second in command in all of Egypt. And then he had that. Then Pharaoh has the dream, right? 7 years of plenty, and then 7 years of famine. So Joseph literally stocks up like an extra 20% during those years of plenty, and then Egypt becomes the superpower nation after that because they're literally supplying. Everyone is coming to them for food during the years of famine. And it's like the same thing. It's like they had the options, but not only that, they took opportunities. When other people are just scrounging and trying to just survive, the people that stock away during the good times have the options to have opportunities to either help other people when they're down or to be able to invest to get to the next level while everyone's just trying to survive. So that's where we're really trying to help people is get to that point where they can have the options for opportunities or just helping their brother, like helping someone else that's going through a difficult time too.
Yeah, it's funny because what you're saying is true, and it's really, really, really true in real estate investing
Yes.
with the
Yes.
cycles that the market
With the
goes through.
cycles. Yep.
Who are those people
100%.
that cleaned up in like 2008 to 2012? Like, if you had cash, you were good, and everybody
Right.
else who didn't have cash had a hard time.
Yep. One of the reasons why I started Simple CFO, there was a guy that I was working with and for in the Richmond, Virginia area, and just helped him clean up his books, his numbers. He was a typical real estate investor, didn't know where things were going. And he was able to get clarity just on what was coming in, what was going out, where his money was hiding. Like he had some rentals and like his loan to value was lower than he thought. So he had a lot of equity in those properties. Well, he refinances a few of those properties, puts a couple $100,000 in his pocket. And then literally the next month, COVID hits and like everything's shut down. And he's sitting there thinking, what can I do with this cash? Where a lot of other people were like, what's going to happen? Is real estate going to come back? Is it not? Is it going to be like a few years of, like famine here or whatever? And I'll never forget, like he said, like this has been life changing where I don't have to sit here in the dark thinking like, what do I do to survive? He was literally saying, what are the opportunities that are going to come during this time? That's why I started what I did. I'm like, I want to give people that feeling of no matter if it's good, like they can go out there and make the money great. But then if it's bad, they're thinking differently and they're asking better questions than what do I do to survive? It's more like, how do I thrive here? Or what can I do to help? Or what can I do in order to springboard this into something better? And, which is really cool. I like his story a lot because he actually, through that experience and through investing his money, he now is just a private lender. Like he does that full time and teaches other people how to lend money because of what he made through COVID and through like what he was able to do during that time. And now he's just sitting in the private lender seat and just helping people and investing in other businesses and like just telling them this is what I did and like here's how you can become a private lender. So that's where I just want to give people that opportunity where a lot of people are just living like we've said again and again, deal to deal, and they'll never see something like that unless they have a system in place to help them get there.
Yeah, I am really curious to know, David. So let's just say I'm listening to this and I'm saying, well, you know what? David has brought like the gospel of profit first into my life. Thank goodness that David exists. And so let's just say I have those thoughts and I'm going to go take action on this, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, what are some of the biggest mistakes that people make that are well intentioned, where they say, yes, I believe in this, so I'm going to do these things. And then maybe they just don't execute it quite right.
Yeah.
They just don't understand exactly the best way to do it. Whatever the case is, it ends up not working for them quite like it should. What are those mistakes?
The biggest one is since it's the finances, it's already got the air of like that stinks. Like I don't want to do anything when it comes to money or numbers because most people are entrepreneurs. Usually they're on the marketing and sales side. That's just how we're bent, right? A lot of entrepreneurs. So if you're already bent that way and like this sounds great, this is the kind, the gospel of profit first, like I want to start something. I always tell people, I'll call back to what I said earlier in the podcast. What will you do consistently and repeatedly? So from this podcast, can you set up one other account? Like if you have one big bank account where all your money's going in and going out, can you at least set up one other account and start putting a percentage in there? If it's as small as 1% or as much as 50%, like I don't care what the percent is. I need you to start having healthier habits because Brandon, the biggest thing is that I hear from people is that they either started it and opened the accounts, but did nothing with it, or they just never open the accounts. So like that, when I tell people, like if you go down the profit first road, you do not have to be a an accountant, a bookkeeper. You do not have to know anything about spreadsheets and numbers. You literally just need a bank account. And from every dollar that closes, you put a little bit in this other account because you're starting to protect yourself from yourself. A lot of us just don't know what to do with our money, don't know a good first step. Like this can be a very simple first step. You know why I tell this story now and like why that's the number one thing I tell people? Because I've had multiple people at events where I've spoken multiple times, where I've like spoken there a year in the past and then go back a year later. And I've had multiple people come up to me and say, you know what? I started with one account. One guy one time tell me, he's like, I started with that one account, like you said. He's like, I stocked just a couple percentage points in there, for the last 6 months. And he's like, I've never had business reserves. He's like, I have 6 months worth of reserves just in that one account right now for my monthly expenses. He's like, I never thought I could do that as a business owner. And I'm like, it just took one small step. He did not set up the whole thing. He didn't go crazy. He didn't outline the book to a T and like, what are all the percentages? I would love for you, obviously, to take it to the end zone, but like, just start where you can. One account. And if it's as low as 1%, just get into good habits with your money because you need to prove it to yourself too. That's the other thing I like about Profit First, Brandon. I think it's achievable for any entrepreneur. Any entrepreneur can start to bank on themselves when they know, okay, I can actually have some good habits with the money and I don't have to be this financial wizard and I don't even have to think about it a lot. Think about it. If you do this once a week, it's one time you're transferring money into another account and you really don't have to think about it. Like we want it to be something where we're not constantly worried or stressed or a system that like takes a lot of like, well, back and forth and I got to do all this. No, start where you can. What will you do? Especially if you don't have help, if you don't have accountability, if you don't have any guidance or any help, like a company like ours does, like then this is a great place to start because this is what most people can do consistently.
Yeah, that's really neat. I can tell you one question that I've asked myself before, just pondering, is like, I
Yeah.
wonder if in the average business, if you just took like some percentage off the top and didn't even tell them, and just like, hey, you sold this much, but like your revenue just happens to be like 10% lower, would they just end up with the same margin that they
They,
do at the end of the day,
they
plus that
would.
whatever that amount is? It's a wild thought, right? It's something to think for you in the past. Like with my business, if someone else had set up Profit First for me without telling me, and all the revenue I collected was actually just 10% less, like how would my decisions have been a little bit different? And would I be in a better or worse financial position right now
Right.
as a company? And
I agree
I
with
bet
that.
for most businesses, the answer is probably yes.
Yeah.
Probably you'd be in a better spot. If somebody else would against your will, set up Profit First for you, and you didn't know what's happening, I think you would be in a better spot.
I can back that up just with the people that like you said, like where, oh, David, you've brought the gospel of Profit First, and where have you been? So many people that we work with said, I wish I would have had this from day one in the business, or I wish, where were you guys 10 years ago? Like that's a big thing that we hear over and over again through our CFOs and through our team. And it's like, I just want this to be something that becomes a habit and that can help you. And you know what, Brandon, I can confidently say yes, because so many people don't even know their numbers. They don't even know what would actually hit their bank account. So it's like, if you took the 10% off, they have no idea that it would even be 10% less. So they would live off of it. And if you just put that 10% in another account, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had like $20,000 in this other account, or whatever it turns out to be when they actually see it again. That was kind of like, I've had one guy that forgot he set up another account and he had automatic transfers going in there. And this was a guy doing a significant amount of business. He said 6 months later, he's like, I remembered that account because it was like tax time and I was going through all of our accounting. And he's like, I had over 6 figures in that one account. He's like, I just completely forgot about it. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh. Like, I wish everyone could wake up and just forget that they had this other account where they have 6 figures sitting there. So it's like, I have story after story like that.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, thank you, David, for taking the time to come on the podcast today. I do want to give you a moment. If there's any other like
Yeah.
message that you'd like to share, that you feel would be like anything we didn't get to that you
Yeah.
feel would be impactful for whoever's listening, feel free to share that, and then let's talk about how someone can get a hold of you.
Yeah. Just remember, money is not the issue, it's the symptom. Because just think about it. Profit first is putting first things first. In a for profit business, that's profitability. But think about your time. I do my calendar like this. Like, I have a wife and a daughter, so I want to make sure I give them the time that they deserve and like that I want to be as a business owner, but then also as a husband and a father. So it's like, just remember, this is not just for your money. This can help you in the different areas, because all the principle is putting first things first. Money should not be the obstacle to your financial freedom. It should be the catalyst. Like, it should help you get to where you want and not hurt you, where it's like constantly the thing you're thinking about all the time. That's why I think a system like this is such a great tool for that. And if you want, I can give the link to where they can find my book and all that stuff. You had mentioned that on this, the second thing. So if you want, I set one up for anyone. If you're listening to Brandon's podcast here, it's simplecfo.com/Bateman, just like Brandon Bateman. So it's simplecfo.com/Bateman. You can get my book, the full book, Profit First for Real Estate Investing, the ebook and audio book. So if you like to listen to it versus just the physical version. If you want the physical version, it's on Amazon, so you can just find it there. But that's how you can get a copy of my book. I do a little cheat sheet too, because Brandon, like, I don't want anyone to have an excuse not to go and do that first step. One account. Here's the banks that we recommend. Here's some that are more profit first inclined to like let you set up a bunch of accounts and do it automatically for you. Like, trying to help you as much as possible without physically opening these things for you. So that's how you can get a hold of us as well too, because after you go after that first page, you can book a call with our team if you're like, hey, I need the help, I need the accountability, because a lot of people move forward with us because they need the accountability piece.
Yep, totally understood. And I've heard amazing things about working with your team. So highly encourage anyone. Like, and thank you, David, for coming with like multiple options here. If
Yeah.
you just want to read the book or something, like, that's
Yep.
cool. If you want the cheat sheet, that's cool. If you want someone to
Hand
actually,
holding. Yeah.
yeah, to hold your hand. Well, and what's cool about it is, like, well, hand holding is one thing, but to have somebody who can actually sit in the CFO seat of the
Yeah.
business that is educated on this particular system that you can then understand as a business owner and be on the same page. And it's almost like it just removes the ability for you to do it wrong.
Yeah.
It just gets done for you, right?
Exactly.
And this is like one of those things, like so many big habits that make a big difference. It's the problem isn't that people don't know what to do, it's that they just don't do it, and they don't do it
That's
consistently.
very true.
And to be able to just write a check and have it done consistently is a win
Yes.
in a lot of ways. So thank you, David, for the time that you invested into this today. I appreciate it. I'm sure those listening learned a ton. For everybody else listening, I will see you next week.